Hey, what's up?
What's up? How you doing, Mr. Boy Wonder? Woo! How you
All
doing,
right,
Mr. John?
awesome.
As you can see, Aubrey is taking another week off. Hopefully, she will be back next week. But it's just going to be the boys hanging out tonight. You know how we do. Crack open some beers.
All right.
What's new in your world, Mr. John?
Well, I contacted Jonathan Mize. He's my contact with the wheelchair world on the 6th of October, asking, just touching base, finding out where things are at. And I've not heard anything back. And it's like, I want to keep bugging him like every few minutes. Like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? I don't want to be that, though. I don't want to be a pain in the ass to him. But
Right. But you've been waiting a long time. This has been a
yeah,
long journey for you.
yeah. It took about the same time for me to get my first wheelchair, too. Almost 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's, and I'm trying not to be depressed. I'm trying to work through that. I'm trying to do what I can, and it's really hard.
Right. Well, I mean, and you're also dealing with, physical pain and things like
Yeah,
that.
my pain gets elevated when the seasons change.
Right. Oh yeah, and we're coming into fall right now, right?
Yes, I mean, we're well into it, and
That's a real thing. Like people actually, like when you see those cartoons where it's like, oh, there's a storm or brewing. I can feel it in my knee.
yes, I can feel rain or I can feel weather change about 3 to 4 days in advance.
Wow, dude, you're like an X-Men.
I'm weatherman.
All right, well let's get into tonight. Tonight might be another a little bit of a shorter one. This was one, man. Unfortunately, there wasn't a lot. Sometimes when we do these, there's a ton of things that you can do for cures and for treatment. This one, there's just not a lot. You really have to rely on a good doctor.
Yeah,
For this
yeah,
one.
you do.
So let's go ahead and show this card here. Actually, I want to put it in the middle.
Okay.
Oh wow! Are you able to read that one?
Yep, I can read it. Paget's disease of bone, a chronic, long-lasting disorder that causes bones to grow longer and become weaker than normal. The disease usually affects just one or a few bones. The bones most commonly affected by Paget's disease include the pelvis and skull. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of I was reading it was a lot of the longer bones, so like your femur, a lot of times in your thigh, like where like they were talking about in your pelvis, and
Yes.
in your skull. And we have a really good example for the pop culture section of this show. We have a really good
Yes, we
example
do.
that some of you people may or may not remember. Some people of a certain age, if you're one of these younger whippersnappers, you may never have seen this movie. If you haven't seen this, have you seen it often? You know what I'm referring to. Don't give it away quite yet, but you know what I'm referring to.
Don't
right,
forget to take this little thing down from here.
Oh yeah, my bad. Thanks.
Cutting off your. There you go.
There you
go. But yeah,
you
picked some good ones.
Did you see the movie when you were younger?
Yes, I love that movie. It's one of my favorites.
It's one
that actor is amazing.
Eric Stoltz, who was a piece of a trivia that he was originally going to be Marty McFly.
Yes.
But it just didn't work out. He didn't test well or whatever, and they ended up bringing in
Michael
What's
J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox? Exactly.
Yeah.
Eric
Yeah.
Stoltz, yes, phenomenal movie. I remember this movie having such an effect on me
Oh
um,
yes.
as I was growing up because especially when you're young and you see something like that and you wonder like, wow, could that happen to me? What happened to that guy? Or you know,
There were one or two people that went to the
yeah,
center down the street from us that had something like that, and they looked similar to that to me.
really,
Yeah. And so I lots of people with different all kinds of disabilities that I got to interface with and stuff because I'd volunteer there at times, help out with their Halloween setup in the haunted house. Ooh.
right?
Yeah.
I do remember one girl, because we were kind of in the same age level, but because she was special needs, and you and I both know special needs growing up back in the 70s and 80s was not like special needs in the
No.
2000s and stuff. They were
Yeah.
usually divided off into their own room, maybe on the whole other wing of the school.
I went
Uh,
to a separate school from third through fifth grade for special needs, where 80% of the school was special needs.
Right, right. Some people go to completely special schools. If they are in a typical school, though, a lot of times, they'll have a different break schedule than the typical children. They'll
I had
have
a
different.
special teacher. I had a special teacher for 2 classes. Then I had a couple of typical, I think 1 or 2, then a PE. Then I spent the rest of the day, they didn't know really what to do with me, especially in high school.
Yeah, that's a shame. So a lot has changed. A lot has changed since then. The kids are a lot more integrated now.
Which is
It's
nice to see.
right, right, right. So
Yeah,
we don't see a lot of well, my whole point was I remember there was a girl who was in my age level, but I never saw her in my classes. Um, she was in the special needs, but there was nothing mentally wrong with her. She had physical disability, and I had often wondered because it had to do with her facial structure. If it had to do with like this movie that what, we might as well just play this movie because we're talking all around it. All right. So this first movie that we are talking about, um, what do you remember from the movie when you remember watching it so long
I
ago?
just remember feeling I remember having empathy and not sorrow or anything, but feeling the characters' frustration, their sadness, their loneliness, their just
Right.
being desperation type of thing and
Right.
stuff, and working through that.
Right. I pulled a scene here. One of the things I liked about the scene, it's one of the few scenes. A lot of times when we pull pop culture, it's kind of refers to the disease, but it never plain out says it. This
Yeah.
one directly says the
Yes,
name
it
of it
does.
in there. They talk a little bit about it, but more than that, what I really like about this is you see how he's built a relationship with these doctors that obviously he's been seeing the same doctors for probably all his life
Yes.
because they're specialists on what he is dealing with, and it's something that's very rare. And also, you see that a lot of times, kind of like what you were saying, like what you remembered was the sadness and the empathy, But this is the scene showing him happy and just a
Yes.
normal kid. He's just like any other kid that would be visiting the doctor. Um,
Yes. And I felt that too, which was awesome.
right.
Like I said, he
And I
works
think
through it and he perseveres.
Right, and I think that's what a lot of say typical ability people don't think about is they sometimes see somebody, I don't know, on crutches or somebody who's blind or somebody who has some other challenge in life, and they think, oh, how horrible for that person, they must live a miserable life. But
Exactly.
that person, may have just as happy a life, if not better than yours.
Yeah.
It's all in the attitude. So
Sorry about that.
here we go.
Okay. Cranium circumference, 67 centimeters.
67 centimeters.
Last one, kid.
all right.
Yeah.
Philly.
Mandible, 32.5 centimeters.
Mandible 32.5.
Measure yours.
Well, now that's good news, Rocky. Since your last checkup in April, your jaw measurement only increased 1/8 of an inch.
Wow. I'm cured. I'm healed. I can go home now. It's the water in the Zuza, Bill. Picture time.
This routine better than we do.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second.
Oh, Rocky, you look great.
I want to get my hair.
You look fine, Rocky.
Okay.
Okay.
Shoot.
How's your mom, Rocky?
She's great.
Stand still. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Turn out.
I blinked.
Why don't you fill me in on this, doctor?
The patient was first diagnosed with craniodiaphyseal dysplasia at 4 years of age when it was discovered that calcium was depositing at an abnormal rate
Calcium.
throughout his skull.
Line pal calcium.
And what have we learned about this disorder?
It's extremely rare, one in approximately 22 million births.
How was it first described?
I know. They call it lionitis. Means look of the lion. You new around here?
Yes, I am. Cause?
It's caused by 2 recessive genes and happens to the offspring of normal parents. His mother had an uneventful pregnancy, didn't ingest any chemical substance or terodogen during
That
gestation.
means it wasn't my mom or dad's fault.
Hello, Rocky.
Hey! Doc Rudinsky.
Good to see
How's
you
it
again.
going?
Our data on this patient, Dr. Rudinsky, supports your article in the New England Journal of...
How are you feeling today, Rocky?
Pretty good. How are you feeling?
You still have those headaches?
Yeah. They've been getting pretty bad lately.
Is your mother still using the same method to make them go away?
What methods are those?
Well, she talks to them and they go away.
No medication?
Nope.
We're ready now, Doctor. You can get
right.
dressed now, Rocky.
See you later, Doc.
Bye.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah. When are you gonna invent one of these things so a guy's rear end isn't always hanging out?
Excuse me, may I?
I'd like to do the follow-up counseling with that patient's mother myself.
Now, there's a great idea. Wouldn't you agree, Doctor?
Oh, definitely, yes.
I love that scene. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Go ahead, Doug. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I was saying go ahead. I was cutting you off.
Oh, yeah, that scene is just fantastic. You know, there are moments in the movie where you just feel like, oh my gosh, and then there's moments in the movie where you're just like, you go, boy, you just go get it. You got it. So that was such a wonderful movie.
Not that we're not that this is a show about film writing or anything like that.
No.
That scenes like that is what makes you have empathy for the character later when you see him happy and obviously he's joking around with the doctors that he knows.
It makes him human.
Right. He's got that special handshake with the
that was really cool.
Neither of them should be doing this.
Yeah.
But I thought that was hilarious. I also loved how the one black doctor, when the new doctor walked in, you could just see his expression change.
Yes.
Like, oh my God, here comes another.
Here we go again.
And you could tell everybody there that, was like, I don't know, they were maybe used to a constant cycle of doctors coming in and trying to think that they're going to reinvent this disease and,
discover something new or cure.
Exactly. So he had the skull version of it.
Yes.
And we're going to see some other examples here. This next little clip I want to show, I put in, it does not describe the disease exactly. So I want to do a little bit of setup on this. This one was actually, when I was doing some of the research, I found out one of the first people that may have been, that they may have diagnosed with Paget's disease, it was actually Beethoven. And they believe that that's the reason why Beethoven went deaf, was because he was having the bone growth in his ears were growing so that it blocked out his hearing. Of course, at that time period, they couldn't diagnose it.
No.
They had no idea what this, and in his day and age, who knows what they would have done, leeches or something, you know what I mean, to try to get the bad blood out or
yeah.
But in this letter, so what this is a letter, one of the later letters in his life from Beethoven to one of his brothers. And he's kind of describing what it's like to live with this disease. So I thought it was an interesting perspective. Obviously, everybody's heard or knows who Beethoven is. And so what was interesting about this was like, wow, we sitting here in 2023 can look back and go, oh, he had Paget's disease. And,
yes.
But at that time period, he talks about how he's seen every doctor and nobody knows what they're doing. And you know what I mean? How could they have? When you have a rare disease that only affects one in every,
22 million.
Right, exactly. how could the doctors back then have known about this?
Exactly.
So that's what this next one is. It's a letter from Beethoven to his brother.
Number 3. Beethoven began going deaf around 1796 when he was just 25 years old. What began as buzzing and ringing in the ears eventually increased to total deafness around 1816. In 1802, Beethoven was at a breaking point in his life. When on a retreat to Heiligenstadt, just outside Vienna, he wrote the famous Heiligenstadt Testament, which was a letter written to his two brothers, Karl and Johann, on October 6, 1802. Beethoven writes, "But think that for 6 years now I've been hopelessly afflicted, made worse by senseless physicians from year to year, deceived with hopes of improvement, finally compelled to face the prospect of a lasting malady, whose cure will take years or perhaps be impossible. Though born with a fiery, active temperament, even susceptible to the diversions of society, I was soon compelled to withdraw myself to live a life alone. If at times I tried to forget all this, oh, how harshly I was flung back by the doubly sad experience of my bad hearing. Yet it was impossible for me to say to people, 'Speak loud or shout, for I am deaf.' Oh, how could I possibly admit an infirmity in the one sense which ought to be more perfect in me than others, a sense which I once possessed in the highest perfection, a perfection such as few in my profession enjoy or have ever enjoyed. Oh, I cannot do it. Therefore forgive me when you see me draw back when I would have gladly mingled with you." He went on to say, "But what a humiliation for me when someone standing next to me heard a flute in the distance and I heard nothing, or someone heard a shepherd singing and again I heard nothing. Such incidents drove me almost to despair. A little more of that and I would have ended my life. It was only my art that held me back. Ah, it seemed impossible to leave the world until I had brought forth all that I felt was within me. So I endure this wretched existence."
Oh man. I listened to that when I was, going through it, and I'm just like, wow, that is powerful. That is profoundly deep and powerful.
Right.
And so true. So true. That's the way it feels.
And can you imagine? I mean, especially in his position, right? Like he
Mhm.
was saying, what a position to be in when you have had one of the most eloquent ears in the world, and you are known for that in your lifetime. How many people are known in their lifetime for
That'd
their
be like
art?
Gordon Ramsay losing his taste.
You know, I mean, it just is absolutely amazing. And then still going on. And I think of I was watching. I also watched. There was another movie called that I tried to find scenes from, but I couldn't find anything that was appropriate for what we were trying to show tonight. But there was another old movie. Oh my god. There was another old movie that you may have seen. I want to say it was the 80s. I think it was called Beloved Forgotten. And it was a movie about Mozart. There was a famous one about Amadeus, but before that, there was another famous one about Mozart. And they were showing different scenes, and there was just scenes when he would have like the tinnitus, and you could hear, people talking to him, but it's through this like sound of this buzzing, and only certain words in the sentences are coming through. And
Oh, I relate to that.
he's trying to
Imagine
conduct
two
this.
tea kettles sitting in your ears. Two tea kettles going full tilt. That's what's in my head.
Right now, you deal with
Yep,
tinnitus?
24/7.
Are you serious?
Not because of sound either. It was brought on because doctors gave me too much lithium. And when I complained about it, they were already having me at double. They wanted to then double that. So they wanted to give me 4 times more. And I'm like, no, I'm taking myself off of this until I can find a lower dosage that works for me. That's not going to make me go deaf. And they're like, but it doesn't do that. I said, pick up that big book of huge, thick book of pharmaceutical interactions. They pull out the little pocket. I'm like, not that one. That doesn't have it. The big one. They're like, how do you know that? Because I've read through it. And I want you to take a look at what lithium does. And they read it and they said, oh, lithium can damage your hearing and cause deafness when you take too much of it.
Wow.
And they cause permanent hearing loss and permanent ringing in my ears.
What is lithium for?
It helps with my bipolar. And I take another pill. I take barely a therapeutic amount of lithium. That's how little that I need. And then I take another pill that helps me, and it's a very low dose also, called Seroquel, or I call it quetiapine or something. And it helps me go to sleep. It helps me remain at kind of just an even keel and stuff like that. So those two help manage my bipolar.
Wow.
Yeah.
What happens if you don't have it?
What happens then is my brain starts making too much dopamine. It just doesn't know when to stop. If I get depressed, it tries to reverse that by creating dopamine, but it doesn't know when to stop. So it just keeps going and going and going until I become manic. And then I start having visual hallucinations, audible hallucinations, tactile hallucinations, I mean, it's the whole thing. Hallucinations on every one of your senses.
Wow.
It's the weirdest, strangest thing.
Wow,
and I don't ever want that again.
So much stuff, man. Like every time we have an episode, like we've done like 45 episodes, and you probably have half of them.
I don't try to. I honestly don't. I don't.
Man, I honestly could not. I can't even imagine tonight. That would be torture to me. Like
For the first couple of years, I was losing my mind. I went to see an ear, nose, throat doctor, and he explained his tinnitus to me. He's like, once you have it, it's permanent. There is no going back.
I can't even imagine. You have it now?
Uh-huh. It's the best way I could describe it. If you've ever heard L wire, it's a skinny little glowy wire, and you hear the little thing that goes. You hear a TV go. Like the arc reactor or the things when Tony Stark goes.
Yeah, no.
Just imagine that sound really loud.
Right.
Really loud in your head, and it never goes away.
It doesn't stop. Right.
No, it's just a constant same pitch.
Yeah, no. I know. It's like going to a concert when you stand next to the speaker all night long, and then you get in your car like after the concert, and it's like deathly quiet, but you hear that constant. You hear that.
There, yep, you can't
explain. Yep. Away though. That's the issue.
That can go away, but if you stand there, if the sound levels are high enough, you can have instant hearing loss at certain frequencies, and never know it.
That's crazy.
So I lost I at one point had the ability to hear really high frequencies, like I could hear almost like a dog whistle type thing. And I lost that plus a few extra frequencies down lower. So I don't hear like treble on stuff. So I tend to turn that up a lot. So when I'm playing music, it's a little bit kind of little like that, a bit with the treble and stuff. But I try to make do. But yeah, it took a while to get my head around the fact that this is just now part of my existence.
Right. Man, I feel for you, brother.
I could kind of relate to that, to what that letter was all about. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. I can kind of relate to that. Maybe not the complete deafness, but definitely the tinnitus.
Yeah. Oh, like I said, when I was watching that other movie, I think it's called Immortal Beloved or something like. It was a movie. You can Google it after, I'm sure, but it was a movie about Beethoven that came out in the 80s. And it had to do with a letter that he wrote, a line. That's where the title came from.
Oh, okay.
Immortal Beloved. It's gonna drive me crazy now. So that was just one example. I mean, now that's when you have growth in your head. And one of the things that we learn about Paget's disease. Oh, another thing I want to make really clear off the bat, because this is something else I learned. There are two types of Paget's diseases. They're very, very different. So when you're looking online, or if you're looking for YouTube videos, you're looking for Paget's disease of the bone. And there is a technical term for it. I didn't get it down.
That's okay.
It's in one of the videos. I know.
Yes.
We have it, but it tells the scientific term for the name. But there is a Paget's disease of the nipple as well, which is a completely different, but it's spelled exactly the same.
Okay.
So just something to be aware of if you're looking for information on Paget's disease.
That's where you grow extra ones. No, just kidding.
This is nothing like they were talking about. This is another really short video right here. It's actually I want to say it's like a 50-second TikTok or something, but it shows more effects of what could happen or what does happen with people with what can happen, because obviously not everybody has the same experience.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Come on, come. Share mommy, yes. This elder patient with history of high blood pressure and this gait, abnormal gait, boom pain, severe boom pain with high cardiac output and visual abnormalities, high blood pressure, hyperdynamic circulation. This could be Paget disease. This is an interesting case. Come on. Thank you for your listening.
Yeah.
So, one of the things, and I believe it's the next video that we get into, really gives you more of the medical definitions and things to help you really understand it. But what it is, it's kind of well, I mean, in some areas, it's kind of similar to what we talked about last week with brittle
Yes.
bone. It's where your body is not making a certain chemical, and they mentioned it. I forgive me for forgetting the name, but it's not making a certain chemical or something in your body that is supposed to fuse with these other two, and because it's insufficiently not making enough, it's making the rest of your bone more brittle. So it's filling in, and sometimes it'll make the bone more brittle, or in fact, what it may do is it may almost like calcify above it so that it's
Yes.
making like new, kind of,
It'll change its shape.
right, the way
Yes.
that your body's not intended to naturally.
Hence the bow-legged, where he was kind of bow-legged like that.
Right. And a lot of times they say, I mean, it's not something like where if it happens on your left leg, it happens on your right. It could be just your
No,
right
it can
arm
happen
or
to just
your,
one bone or one area.
exactly.
Like the skull style, the rest of the body's fine, but your skull is abnormal.
Exactly. You might get one femur bone that's growing longer than the other one is. So your legs will be, oblong in one leg.
All of these just make me realize how amazing everything is, that when it works, and when it doesn't work, oh boy.
I oftentimes compare it to almost like a car, right? Like
Yes.
one of these modern cars with all these wires, and you got to make sure
Computers,
this one's connected to this one, and this, you know what I mean? But it's all so intricate that if just one little system breaks down, sometimes it can be a pain in the butt figuring out what exactly broke down, because it's so similar. And, one little part has so many different, other parts that it works with. It's absolutely amazing. I as much as we sometimes rag on modern doctors, you also have to give it up for the scientists that have come before us and who have learned this information. Actually, a lot of times it's not in the best of ways, but let's roll on to this one. Is more of a medical. It's going to tell us more about the names of these things.
In today's video, we're going to be talking about Paget's disease, and now this is a disease which affects the modeling process of bone. Normally, old bone cells are replaced by new bone cells in a process called bone remodeling. However, this process in Paget's disease is disrupted. Paget's disease is the second most common bone disease after osteoporosis, and the incidence of it increases with aging. Approximately 8% of the population over 85 have the disease. The cause of Paget's disease is said to be genetic. That means if someone in your family has had it, it's likely you will too. Mutations of the gene known as sequestosome 1 gene has been associated with Paget's disease. Other associations of Paget's disease has said to occur after a paramechovirus infection like measles or RSV, and they can trigger Paget's disease. However, this association is not fully understood at this stage. Let's talk about the pathophysiology of Paget's disease and how it occurs. We have the lytic phase. Here we have increase in bone resorption by osteoclasts and an increase in osteoblast activity in response. The new bone which is produced by the osteoblasts is poorly organized. it's structurally weak and highly vascular, and that's because the osteoblast activity is excessive to try and keep up with the osteoclast activity. This phase may also cause degenerative arthritis. Then we have the intermediate phase, where osteoclast activity reduces to reach a point where osteoclast and osteoblast activity equalize and the bone remains stable. We then have the sclerotic or blastic phase, where osteoclastic activity stops and osteoblast's activity continues. Here we have the unorganized woven bone, which is replaced by lamellar bone. After this, the disease becomes inactive. Paget's disease can affect any bone in the body, however, it's commonly affecting the axial skeleton, the long bones, and the skull. The symptoms of Paget's disease include bone pain, deformity, osteodegenerative arthritis, and pathological fractures. Some patients, they don't have any symptoms, but a discovery can be made by an incidental X-ray. One of the ways of investigating Paget's disease is with blood tests, so we can see raised alkaline phosphate levels. Calcium levels are usually normal, but there are also low phosphate levels and normal vitamin D levels. X-rays can be used to show bone expansion with alternating areas of these radiolucencies and osteosclerosis, so these patches of white and black, and radionucleotide scanning highlight areas of active disease, and it identifies the extent of Paget's disease. Now, to manage Paget's disease, bisphosphonates are usually prescribed, and prior to this, any vitamin D or calcium deficiencies are corrected to avoid hypocalcemia. But if bisphosphonates do not reduce the pain, the likely cause of the pain is due to some kind of complication like osteoarthritis or a fracture. Calcitonin can also be used, and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs can be for pain management.
Biphosphonates, when usually the third act of the show, we talk about what you can do to, get better. And a lot of time it comes down to getting more rest and eating better and, getting exercise. But in this one, you had very limited things.
Yes.
Just not producing it. You have to have it. For your safety. I mean, this is very similar in that, you could be walking down the road and twist your ankle wrong, and all of a sudden you've got a fractured, broken ankle. Whereas maybe somebody else might have had a pulled muscle or just been sore. You've broken your ankle. There's lots of medical diseases. This can affect. It does, although they did say it's most common in the longer bones in your body, in your skull, and around your thighs and your legs. There are people that have had it in their back and in their chest cavity. Sometimes it will affect their breathing because the bone is growing in different ways and pressing against their lungs. It might affect their blood pressure because of their heart being kind of trapped in a cavity that it's not supposed to be in. So there are a lot of medical, complications that can come up with this one as well. Bueller.
Sorry, I'm sitting here. My pain level's hitting almost 9.
Oh, snap.
I'm blanking out. Sorry. It looks like I'm sitting here paying attention, but I'm wandering off.
Okay, it's all good. It's all good, man.
Sorry about that.
I totally get it, man. You do what you got to do. Get that Zen going.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, well, okay, what can we do? I mean, can you eat better? And there's not really much that you can do with this overall,
Right.
other than see the appropriate doctors and then follow their treatments, and hopefully,
That biphosphate, I think, is what it is. Biphosphate that they were talking about. I believe in some of the other stuff that I was looking at. You can either be injected or it can be taken as a tablet. I don't know what I mean. I'm sure it does something to help with your bone density, probably. But the other thing that I thought was kind of interesting was that I saw a lot of videos when I was researching this on organizations and groups. So much like, the Leukemia Association or something like that, or the Heart Foundation or whatever. A lot of these other groups exist. There are groups specifically for this disease.
Yes.
And they have like conferences, and they bring in doctors to talk about, things. And, when I was watching these videos, it did, earlier on in the video, it said that it affected a lot of people that were older, the older population. So a lot of people I saw in the video were, people in their older generation. So if this is something that you deal with or a family member deals with, there are groups and associations out there, and they can lead you towards doctors and specialists of this specific disease, because it is not one. I mean, it's relatively rare, I guess.
Yeah.
But not. It's not enough to have its own association, obviously.
Yeah.
If they have enough people to do conferences. So how you feeling, John?
I'm hanging in there.
All right, man. If you need to bounce or anything, or if it's getting too much, just let me know.
Okay.
We got another video here. We got one more. Let's roll that through.
Okay.
Paget's disease of bone is a disorder that interferes with your body's bone tissue recycling process when new bone tissue gradually replaces the old. This process is called remodeling, and it continues throughout your life. Paget's is a serious disease that can cause bones to become fragile and misshapen. The skull, pelvis, spine, and legs are most likely to be affected. The precise cause of Paget's is unclear, although heredity may be a factor. There's also a possibility Paget's is related to a viral infection in your bone cells. This infection may be present for many years before the disease becomes evident. Some individuals never experience symptoms. Among those who do, though, the signs of Paget's often depend on which part of the body is affected. When symptoms do appear, they might include the following: bone deformities. Legs can become bowed, and the head may seem to be gradually getting bigger as the skull enlarges. Bone pain. Pain varies from one individual to another, but it tends to be a continuous, aching type of pain, and it's often worse at night. Joint pain. Paget's can damage cartilage, leading to sore or painful joints. Nerve pain. Discomfort may be widespread, or it may occur only in one or two places. There may be numbness and tingling in some areas, especially the lower back. Double vision, headaches, and hearing loss. These can also be caused by nerve compression. Bladder and bowel control problems. These could be the result of nerve damage in your back. Leg weakness. Bones in your legs won't be as strong because of the abnormal remodeling process. Skin changes. Warmth on the skin over the affected area can occur. Paget's disease of bone happens more often as we get older. There's currently no cure for Paget's, but treatment can help relieve the symptoms. In very rare cases, Paget's can turn into a life-threatening cancerous bone disease. Severe Paget's may cause damage to the heart. If you're experiencing bone or joint pain, talk to your doctor. It could be caused by Paget's disease, and if it is, you'll want to know as soon as possible so you and your doctor can consider treatment options.
Sorry about that.
No, we edited that one a little late. That's all right. A nice little groove on the way.
Yes, getting a little groovy there.
Yeah, so I like that one. That one gave us more of like I feel like a visual of
yes,
how that kind of works.
Yes, I had no idea that this thing even really existed. I mean, I knew somebody that had this. I think it was in their arms and part of their chest, and their head was a little bit, but it wasn't as affected as what we saw in the movie. So I didn't even realize that this was that. And now when I think about it, it was that.
Right.
Like, oh, wow.
You know what I thought when I started researching this, and I found out I was completely wrong. Do you know who John Merrick is?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, you're good. You know that name, huh? Who's John Merrick?
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Who is John Merrick?
I'm trying to remember who he is, but I've heard the name, and I'm trying to remember where.
The Elephant Man.
Elephant Man. Thank you.
Right. I mean, that's his, God-given name, or his mother's, the name his mama gave him, was John Merrick. He was known from the movie Elephant Man, which was a movie about a real person who was afflicted with this disease. Um, I thought that I thought he had Paget's maybe, because of the
Yes.
bone growth, but that's a whole different disease.
Yes. I'm just going to bring this up here because bring my little screen grabber over. All right. So we are going to go over to here because take a look at this and tell me that does not maybe look like it could be Pageants.
Right. See, because of
Okay.
the extra. Oh, I'm using my arrow like anyone can see it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Tell me that doesn't look like it might be Pageants. I mean, it's quite quite a severe case of it, but
Right.
but yeah, when that's how okay, because I know his name. I'm like, yeah, I know his name, and I'm trying to remember where I know his name. And you said Elephant Man. I'm like, oh, I've got that movie. I've got the
Right.
old black and white movie, the original.
Oh man, I remember that from my childhood as well, man. There's a
Yeah.
lot, it's kind of crazy now that I think about it. Man, that's what these kids nowadays is missing out on, is all them movies. But there's a lot of movies, and I don't know if I saw them on Showtime or HBO, but there
Yeah.
was
Whoops.
a lot of movies that were probably way above my level.
Same here. Yep.
That there was no reason that I should understand it then, but maybe it wasn't for me to understand then. It was just for me to know then, so that later on in my life I could understand it.
Yeah. That's a good way of thinking about that. Yeah.
Because obviously that movie, and especially the themes of it, and movies like Mask as well, even though that was a good movie, there's a lot of themes that as a 7-year-old,
Yes. It's just over
way
your head.
it.
It was like watching James Bond movies. It's like you're laughing at certain things. Your parents are laughing at other things. Then years later, you're like, oh, that's why they were laughing.
Right.
But yeah.
So so that's what I thought when I started investigating this one.
I thought for sure that was going to be one of the things we'd have is Elephant Man.
Right.
And
Exactly.
when I didn't see it, I'm like, oh no, Elephant Man. Okay. Oh. See, he had something different though.
Yeah, we can look that one up, but I think when I didn't do a deep dive.
Yeah.
I just went over to look at him to see if he had Pageants, and it wasn't Pageants, it was something else. It was something, but it wasn't necessarily directly a bone related. It was like a thyroid or something, but it affected different parts of his body. Maybe we can look into it, but I don't want to. I want to say it wouldn't fall under the bone category that we're under right now.
Let's see.
So
he had some doctors thought he had neurofibromatosis. Wow. And then later on, they kind of think he might have had Proteus syndrome.
Proteus syndrome. That's what I remember hearing about. And I think that's just growth of different parts of your body abnormally for no real reason. I believe. I can't remember reading the full thing, but obviously Proteus syndrome is not the same as Pageants. That's so I kind of moved on.
Don't blame me there.
So that's pretty much it. It is a deficiency in the bone. Your bones are not pumping enough of the right stuff. Unfortunately, you need to get something that you're not going to really self-diagnose. There are certainly symptoms that you can have that will make you, maybe go to your doctor, and then your doctor can do professional diagnosis.
Yes.
And one of the things too, oh God, what was it? The AC. I remember in that video, and they were talking about specifically, and it was another video correlated it, but they were saying that one of the things that they could look at is your blood level. And if there's like 3 different measures for your bone, and if 2 of them are normal, but one is abnormally high, it's like the number 1 indicator of Paget's disease.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's one that they can relatively easily, do a blood draw and kind of look at. and start to pinpoint down. So, obviously how it affects you as an individual is, who knows?
Yeah, it's going to be different for each person.
Right. Right. So, there is no, get better sleep. There is
No,
no,
unfortunately, you can't just breathe.
Yeah, you can't just breathe this one out.
No. Like, darn. Back when in the early episodes, it was okay, folks. Just remember to relax and breathe. Have something that keeps you, gives you comfort nearby.
Right. We're getting
Boy,
to
did that
the
quickly
weeds
escalate
now.
to stuff. Now we don't have anything that can help you. Sorry.
You're gonna have to see professionals. Pretty soon
Yes.
you're gonna have to see aliens.
Yes.
Well, do you have anything else, my friend?
Not really. I mean, the videos and everything pretty much covered everything. We don't currently have too many people in the audience.
That's all right. People will watch this later and love it in glory. And they
Yes. So for
they'll
those
go,
that
wow,
watch
I've
this
never
later,
heard of Paget's disease before this. Thanks, John. Thanks, Boy Wonder. Thanks, Ark.
so if anybody does tune in and you're watching this and maybe you have it and you want to share something, put it down there in the comments and stuff, and start a conversation. Because
You know what's crazy, dude? You know what I was thinking about? I was like, oh man, this is, of course, it's just how my twacked brain works, right? But like, I saw this TikTok video or like YouTube short. It was some kind of short video.
Yeah.
And I think I reposted it on my Facebook page, but I was like, dude, that is the dopest idea ever. Basically, what it was a person's tombstone, and then there was those what do you call those codes? The IR or the the codes where you can put your camera up to
the little QR codes.
QR codes, that's it. So then there were QR codes on the tombstone, and then it brought you up to like a website that showed you videos of this person's life.
Yeah, when I was working at the cemetery, they were talking about installing actual monitors, like weatherproof monitors into tombstones, so you can walk up to it, activate it, and there'd be a video, like a memory video of the person and stuff to play back.
Crazy.
I'm like, wow. But now, of course, they can just do what you just described, put a QR code there, boop, and then it takes you somewhere online to do it. So without having to put the technology out there and stuff. But yeah, they were talking about that back when I was working at the cemetery I was at. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, that's right. Because that's how the infamous accident happened.
Yeah.
I just so of course the first thing I'm thinking, I was like, wow, if I had a tombstone, you could put like all of my episodes, just have it go straight directly to the YouTube page, and then it would just save people and stuff. You can see what I used to be.
Yep, you can get to know him to his YouTube channel.
The later years. Dude, when I started this channel like two and a half years ago, this was all black, dude. That's kind of crazy.
There you go. Yeah, I started turning gray at 25 after my accident. It was like the weirdest thing. Then I lost most of my hair. I'm like, okay.
All right.
That is so weird.
All right. Well, if you are watching this later, if you're in the audience now, we want to thank you for hanging out with us. Don't forget, this is your show too. You are welcome to comment, or if you have any suggestions. We are in the bones this month, so I'm not sure what our topic will be next week, but we got to pick it earlier. We are in the bones this month. That is our theme of the month. And please do not forget to like, subscribe, and do not forget to share this with your friends so that more and more people will know about the joys of Kyber Cave Productions. We do original programming 7 days a week on this channel. And so every day you tune in, there's something new and something original for you.
So come keep us company.
Come keep us company. All right, y'all. We will be back next week.
All right.
Tuesday at 5. This is Arts of Kyber. That down there is the Boy Wonder.
Boy Wonder. Whoops, there he is.
I gotta go. There we go. That over there is Ability TV's Mr. John Holt. So make sure to check out his channel as well and all of the stuff that he does.
Oh, thank you. And of course, we got our fearless leader right over here.
You know, it's funny. I was
Casey
looking
and
at
the
our,
Sunshine Band.
I was looking through some of our. Ooh, I can't wait till. I hope I get to tell people about. Yeah, I hope I have a big secret I'm hoping to tell you guys all about coming up very soon. I'll know more after a phone call tomorrow at noon.
A secret.
Ooh.
Tune in. Which shall it be? Tune in to the same bat channel,
Secret on
the
the
same bat time.
Yeah, exactly. Same bat time, same bat channel. Robin is all in. All right, y'all. We are
All right.
out of here. Peace.
Bye.
Adios.
Special thanks